come to check out Fort Union National Monument. This is near Santa Fe. It's along the Santa Fe Trail. This national monument preserves a relic of America's era of manifest destiny. Fort Union served as a frontier military outpost and a safe haven for travelers on the Santa Fe Trail for 4 decades. While it serves as a symbol of America's growth and vigor for westward expansion in the mid-1800s, this site has its roots in the removal, internment, and even massacre of Native people. When the Civil War ripped the nation apart, this fort gained new purpose. Confederate forces out of Texas threatened incursion into the New Mexico territory. In response, the fort was overhauled to be a better deterrent.
So there's some shallow ditches here or paths that lead up towards the fort, and this is actually the indentation from the wagon trains on the Santa Fe Trail.
The original fort here at Fort Union was built in 1851 as a outpost along the Santa Fe Trail, but in 1861 the Union reinforced this fort with more dugout earthworks here to protect against Confederates trying to come into the Rio Grande Valley.
So this row all the way down would have been the officers' houses, full for families. There would have been 9 of them originally.
These adobe walls are the ruins of the third fort. The first fort was a roughly built log structure, preceding the Civil War earthworks of the Star Fort. Most of what remains here was built in 1863, 2 years into the war. So this building behind me would have been the general store. This is where they would have came for all their supplies and, necessities. Despite all the decay, order, discipline, and uniformity is baked into these clay walls. Life here would have been regimented. Soldiers were hundreds of miles from home. This army town was their world. The most excitement would be new arrivals, bringing supplies, mail, news, war dispatches, stories from travels on the Santa Fe Trail. So just to talk a little bit on the Santa Fe Trail, this was already a popular artery of trade for Native Americans before Spain, before the British showed up. However, it was in the 1800s a major traffic way for trade goods coming up from Mexico. There's actually 2 paths here. There's the Cimarron route and there's the Santa Fe Trail that was more popular because it did not cross through more hostile native territory, whereas the Cimarron route would pass through Oklahoma and Texas. And there were treacherous river crossings, and like I said, Native Americans that weren't friendly. Following the end of the Civil War, the South was put under military occupation. And to keep from making a tense situation worse, African American troops were organized into new regiments and sent west, far from the former Confederacy. These black regiments were nicknamed Buffalo Soldiers. One such Buffalo soldier, William Cathay, fell sick on his way to Fort Union. Upon arrival, it was discovered by the surgeon his name was actually Kathy Williams, and she had been a slave from Missouri, who, in her words, wanted to make my own living and not be dependent on relations or friends. Fort Union's actually going under some construction here to reinforce some of these structures, so this building behind us we can't actually access. Here we're looking at the post corrals. This is where they would have kept the livestock for traveling mail. These buildings that are off limits are the mechanics corrals, essentially the workshop of the fort.
So we're standing here next to the privy at what would have been like a main entrance to the fort here, because this is where the Santa Fe Trail kind of leads out of here.
So for anyone who doesn't know what a privy is, this is the toilet. You can see these two are full. It means they're heavily used. There's two empty ones back there that I take it they never got around to filling.
We noticed that the sidewalk and the foundations are still coming all the way out here. So this is the jailhouse here. Anybody committed of any minor crimes or particularly horse thieving would have to spend their time in here.
This is where all the laundry was done. Now laundresses were really important. To be a female at this fort, generally you had to be the wife of a soldier. This is our last building here. This is the hospital. It was actually one of the best hospitals in the West. What the sign here says is between here and Fort Riley, this is the best place to go for medical care. And it was a pretty big facility.